What is happening? Fake truths. Wait, who's that? Is that me? Is that am I doing this? Is this really me doing this? I'm so confused. Another good show. Shout out to Marf. Marfugel TV. Marfugel. Yeah, still some people out there hanging out. Yeah, I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared for this grid failure and the riots and the chaos that apparently is coming for us very, very, very soon. I'm not. I'm not like set up for that. Are you? Are you? Like, getting a little worried.
I'm a thing too. Sometimes bad guys don't get caught.
Sometimes bad guys don't get caught. I would say most of the time. Oftentimes. Almost always bad guys don't get caught. They pay and they can afford to not get caught. That's not something that they have to worry about. So yeah, we're gonna get into some Happy on Sci-Fi Channel. A very interesting show. Patton Oswalt plays a unicorn. And right, obviously, the first unicorn that I've seen this year. No, literally the opposite of that. There's just infinite unicorns. There seems to be so many unicorns nonstop. Doesn't really matter what show, where you are. Are you in Target? You're gonna see some unicorns. Are you, at the movies? You're gonna see some unicorns. Are you driving down the street? Well, there's a chance there's unicorn. There's unicorn. It's like maybe there's one right behind you. Just look, double check. But the unicorns they're unstoppable. Seems like it. Really, just some basic shots from yesterday. Again, we're just sort of locked in here in Los Angeles area. It has just been overcast. And you see different things on the radars. You see other things flowing by, but this is from my actual observations. This is all that I've seen. This sort of layer, this thick layer, has been over us for the past 2 days, and there doesn't seem anything that can penetrate it. And overcast, I like that phrase. Because it makes a lot of sense. There gets casting over. We've been cast upon. Check out some news. I mean, it's hard to keep up with everything, but it's happening regardless. Like whether or not you can process all the data, and nobody can. That's sort of the point, right? There's too much info out there for any one human to be able to track and make sense of. It's just sort of a mad dash, and so people pick up whatever information they can find, and I guess it's better than they're being whatever all the time. The party line, just some single voice telling you exactly what to think. You have this plurality, and they all just seem to be saying the same thing though. So maybe it really is the same voice. It's just some sort of illusion of choice because we happen to be looking at Vox here, but you could read this story on any number of platforms because all in the same day, right? Because that's when it happened. I guess that's how news works. Things happen and then people report on it. But I definitely saw this from a lot of different sources, right? That, cannabis has been legal for quite some time, but it seems like shrooms are like making a comeback or just gonna become a thing. Which seems pretty nuts because, I've never done them, but I know the effect that they have, and it's pretty hardcore. This isn't your average, get faded and watch some Netflix kind of experience. Like it goes a lot farther beyond that. And that'll just be kind of nuts if people are just like, if you're not sure, is this guy on mushrooms or not, the way it is now, where you're like, is this guy high right now? And you're not sure because everybody's high or was high very recently. So, all of that sort of blends together, and it's hard to really put your finger on it, but that really does have this huge effect on culture, the path of, not just a single human, but of the humankind. If a large part of the population is checked out and just on drugs, as fun as drugs are, I mean, I do drugs. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too. I mean, while at the same time, recognizing that it is a very powerful form of social control. While you can, use these things to open up your minds, I think the point these days with cannabis, and it looks like they're on the move with this substance, is to just way overdo it, basically, like jam your brain so thick full of whatever good stuff was in there that the actual positive experience is totally papered over, and you're left sort of reeling, and it ends up being damaging because you're basically ODing. I don't know how they're gonna pull this off, honestly, but it's happening. Because this ties into, happy and what I want to talk about there. Another classic channel, Plain Truth, who is just sort of all over the map, but definitely brings out some good points. Had this from, I forgot who we got it from, somebody else, but they were talking about tobacco and how, tobacco is just, it's getting so villainized these days. Like it's like the last thing that you want to be doing is smoking tobacco, especially in California. They're trying to just crucify everybody. They're trying to get it out of buildings and cities, and they're really trying to make this like an impossibility. And while at the same time, this whole vaping thing is on a rise, obviously, like the Juul, trying to get legislation, worried about it spreading to the kids, and just a lot of talk, a lot of back and forth about vaping and nicotine and that whole thing. So, but if you're reading this text here just a little bit, the basic premise is that there was a different type of tobacco, especially the type that was found in the Amazon. Right. Fundamental difference between the shamanic use of tobacco and the consumption of industrial cigarettes. The botanical variety used in the Amazon contains up to 18 times more nicotine than the plants used in Virginia type cigarettes. Amazonian tobacco is grown without chemical fertilizers. Right, so the Amazon type has more nicotine. Is that what it is? That the cigarettes don't have as much nicotine, so you have to smoke more of them, so you get more plant damage, burning plant matter, lung damage. And they just talk about how it's pretty bad. It is definitely pretty bad for you, but it's not because of the tobacco, because the original tobacco, like, that actually made people live long and was very good, like, depending on, the shamans would use it to relax and stuff. But as with everything in this world, like, it's just sort of been turned on its head, like this great medicinal thing that actually, goes back centuries and is really, like, it's a plant, like, within moderation. It's got to have a use. It's got to have some sort of power. And they're saying these old guys out in the Amazon are just living forever, and they smoke all the time. So whatever you want to make out of that, I'd buy it though. And now it's like it's the bait and switch, basically, because now it's just the vaping. It's all about the nicotine. That's the only thing that matters. They got to take the plant out and just leave the chemical, and make it so it's cool to have way too much. So you take that strongest amount of nicotine. As a kid, you're trying to show off, and you know the story. It's the same every generation, every time. It's like something is cool, something is hardcore, and then you want to like max it out. You want to go all the way, and so, right? I'm sure there's tons of super underage kids getting these massive doses of nicotine because, I mean, if you know or if you don't know, like a vape set up the right way is like gonna deliver tens, hundreds of times more nicotine than you could ever get from a traditional cigarette. So, again, just another one of these polarizing topics, but something to be said here about things getting co-opted because the tobacco has really become the one of the worst social things that you can do around here, which makes me want to do it even more. Sorry, guys. Yeah, Marfa's having a great show. He got cut off mid-show again too. It really seems like they're cracking down pretty hardcore these days. I don't know how long this is going to keep going, which is why I wanted to jump on here. At least get a little practice. A little public speaking, little just thoughts getting turned over. Because, right, if any of these things are indications, this isn't really going to be possible pretty soon to just to talk and to say, oh, well, check out this article about Chelsea Manning getting released. Can I talk about it like I really think what's going on, or should I just say, oh, I'm not sure what to think about this. Let me read the article so I know what to think. Because right, she's a woman now. And it ties into that whole, the trans agenda that's been going down in the last couple of years, which is, it's right. It's a crazy tie-in. I have this whistleblower that locked up and then go through the transition and have it get so much press and attention. And her being then on the other end, this the source for WikiLeaks and basically getting in a whole bunch of trouble, but. Maybe that's how all these stories are. It's like sort of a mixed bag, whistleblower. And depending like on what group you're in, right? You may like one of these elements. You may like the trans aspect. You may like the whistleblower aspect. You may like both. You may like neither, right? And so maybe that's how they work this polarization, because that's really how it works. Is you implement characters like Chelsea Manning, right? She's a character in the grand show or whatever, right? She's part of this whole tapestry. A lot of people are gonna know who she is, and right, she's finally out of jail. How is that gonna make you feel? It's I guess the whole point is for you to question and to polarize and to think about what your other relatives, significant other friends are thinking about this and how they're wrong, or, maybe you had a rousing discussion about it. It's definitely been shared a couple times. Wonder what the comments say. She asserts, right, she is an activist now. This person's calling attention to the she part. Right, and then somebody else getting mad about that, like, leave out the misgendering, right? That's what it ends up being about. Much more is her actual transition and how we need to respect this person. And what is the whistleblower part really? Does that fall in here anywhere? So, anyways, I want to get back to the good stuff.
Wolfies is the only certainty that you will ever have. Wolfies are armed with this knowledge that most of you just piece your time away playing video games, watching sports. Yes, well,
I don't know. It's hard to explain one sentence at a time, but I'm doing my best. There's so much going on in here. So many cues, so many lessons that we are getting taught every second of every day, and just not sure how many people really think about it.
all humans are armed with this knowledge. Most of you just piece your time away playing video games, watching sports.
Playing video games and watching sports, yeah. So
This knowledge.
I'd say definitely a fitting scene for these days. He's like guy in the tux. He's like a demon. Well, I guess they're both in Texas. The bald guy used to be this other guy, but now he's a demon. He possessed the body of this guy, Blue or whatever, and now he's the actual demon, but he gets to just hang out and order people around and tell people what to do. And he's admonishing this person. And again, I mean, this show is just it's very, very close on reality. This famous kids entertainer here, Sunnyshine, is they're all planning on executing him in front of the public in a very gruesome manner and having it be a big public sacrifice. Which I mean, yeah, maybe I misspoke. That never happens in real life. That's not something that is reflected upon reality at all, that they sacrifice celebrities at certain given points for dramatic effect or reason, right? Because they value human life and they wouldn't hurt people. That's not how these guys work. I mean, I know it's hard to understand.
There is certainty that you will ever have. All humans are armed with this knowledge.
Right, but that's how the line starts.
That is the only certainty that you
And
will
that's how this demon person is uniting everybody, saying that the death is the only thing that all humans have in common. It transcends race and creed and all those things, and that's why you should follow the demon, because, right? We're all going to die someday. And that seems to be what a lot of stuff all over the world of entertainment, doesn't really matter where you're looking at. You look in mainstream, you look in deep in the internet. There's going to be some graphic, disturbing stuff going around, because that just seems to be like what's up, basically. So this is, from the beginning of the episode, extremely disturbing images of this like fire, and family getting burned to death or burned alive, and I guess it's more of like a dream sequence, but at the same time, right, you're being confronted with these very graphic, very powerful images of, I guess, his family getting burned alive, the main guy. And right, that's why I don't want to get too hung up on the plot or any of that stuff. It's much more about the images themselves that were being shown. Like, wow, is this desensitizing? To looked right into the eyes of this burned off face of supposedly your wife, because right, you're going to be empathizing with the main character. It's sometimes hard to remember why I took these frames. Probably just looking here at this beautiful unicorn that I've been talking about. I guess there'd be two main characters, this drunken alcoholic guy with the family, and the unicorn. And just unicorn plays a pivotal role in this show, which, again, just I guess you really do have to watch enough stuff to know that this is just it's beyond not possibly being a coincidence. It is so deep in there to have these symbols and have them go all over the place in this incredibly complex media landscape that we live in now, where, right, people, they're like ships passing. People don't watch the same shows. that their friends watch, that their family watches. Everybody sort of has a very personalized media diet that they get to pick and choose. But at the same time, while I may feel like a limitless supply there, nothing is limitless. And, well, there's goddamn unicorns everywhere. Doesn't matter where you're looking. You're looking in this show, you're looking everywhere. They're just nonstop. And a lot of this imagery is. It just tends to repeat over and over again, just in a different style, in a different form, but it's the same story. I'm gonna try to play this audio.
Born to do the bidding of Orcus, bucket wishes. Idols have risen up, and just when their light seems to shine brightest, each was taken away. And now it's happening again. A new idol has risen to bring joy to the world.
Right, so just like to draw, because I honestly, it really seems from the comments that I've been getting that the truthers they've all like thrown away their TVs and they don't watch it anymore. They just go on YouTube and check that out. But honestly, it's very easy to get your hands on television if I guess ask me if you don't know how. It doesn't matter where you are in what part of the world, like you can get your hands on some television. And just the way you guys are carefully watching the news and checking stuff out there, I just think this is equally, if not more important, to be looking at the entertainment, and especially as it happens, and then extrapolate from there, because the images, the ideas that are shown here are going to be not copied, but replaced and removed and redone in another show, in another demographic, but it's going to be the same message, the same ideas getting out, right? So in this show, which, right, if you thought this was real in real life, you would be told that you're a total nut job. There's these like weird flesh colored aliens that are called wishies, that they look like a potato root or something, and they wear these weird costumes to protect their identity or whatever from people that would be weirded out by weird giant root. It's like ginger. Almost looks like a ginger root or something. And this sequence is sort of showing you that, like, yeah, the wishies have always been there. They were there with Gandhi. They were there at the Lincoln assassination. They were always there behind the curtain watching and making sure that everything was going right. And right, that's what's going on in the show too. These wishies of sort of, they're the reason why this kids performer is so famous and popular, because whatever they do, they got the magic juice and they can make things happen. Again, like how familiar does this all sound to you in the truth community? It seems very familiar to me. This seems like stories that I hear all the time on other channels, but right, this is entertainment. This is supposedly, I guess just vaguely referencing a possible reality. Maybe there are like root-shaped monsters. Maybe like we're so focused on the reptiles and the grays that, like, maybe it's a totally different shape. Maybe it is this weird kind of blobby, gross thing. They're definitely, for some reason, there seems to be an insane amount of truth in this show specifically. Just very gritty, and that can be powerful. Yeah, so I should zoom these out. It doesn't look like I'm tripping the copyright. If I use stills and then just a little distortion on the movies and try not to use more than 10 seconds, that seems to be not pissing off the people, the special people that we can't talk about. right. I guess I've been practicing for a big part of my life how to say stuff where you don't know which way I'm leaning. Basically, am I believing in this or am I not believing in this? And seems to be like a premium time for that skill set because, right? Apparently, we're allowed to talk about stuff in a certain way as long as we condemn it, as long as we say that thing is bad. Otherwise, certain topics are really getting off the list that you can't really support or go in depth about this topic because otherwise, I guess your stream gets shut down and your phone gets cut and your window gets smashed in. Like, jeez, how like not good at keeping the information in could you guys be? And at the same time, it's just so confusing to me because everything, everywhere you look, like once you really see it and you open your eyes, it's just drenching. It's coding everything. And right, to then keep a lid on that, wow, where it's just like in everything, there's just so many deep contradictions. It's hard to figure out. But I pulled his frame because, all right, we're talking about smoking, and that's bad. And right, here's our favorite imaginary unicorn horse character, Patton Oswalt, who, right, again, these voices, they're that's all sort of it brings something up in your mind. This character, that actor, then, and also all the projects that they've been in previously, that may or may not have to do with similar topics. Just another interesting aspect. But right, Happy, the horse blue unicorn thing, just had sex with Lil Bo Peep, and it was his first time. He was a virgin, and he thinks it was good, but it was not. And but he's laying back, and this is what you do when you're a grown up. When you finally become a man, you get out a cigarette and you start smoking. And right, they're going to say that definitely this show is for mature audiences. This is not something that kids are consuming, but I mean, they are. That's what I would have done if I was growing up at this time. This is definitely the kind of show that I would be watching because it's so edgy. It's so out there, right? But at the same time, it's edgy with the unicorn. Like, it is really like a pretty great achievement here that they've got going, being able to add also all this silly stuff while having it also be so hardcore with exploding nuns and orgies and all of these terrible things, basically. Right, but just think about how, right, just looking in there, they're talking about smoking is how you grow up. It's a rite of passage that any, just like losing your virginity, every well, I guess horse unicorn person should go through, but also humans should go through. Right. And just, right, there's just so many details, so many little things to look at. I spent a lot of time looking at the patterns on walls that they pick and choose. This one seems like an oddly specific one, the way there are non-symmetrical alternating, shorter marks. This almost seems like a full-on code that's in the wall here, right? Thicker, thinner. And this, I mean, it very much reminds me of that, of those very ancient cave drawing symbols that we were looking at a little while back. How boxes like this, I mean, not parallel like this, but a single like section of this, say from like right here, that's the type of thing that you would find in cave drawings, going back 40,000 years. And what's it doing here? And again, right, that's just one tiny aspect of this one frame from this one show that is just like rushing over eyeballs without any sort of thought and consideration. But there's a lot of thought and consideration goes into the actual product, right? Having this scene with the orgy and then having his face be red, he's about to, lay the smack down. And That seems to be part of it. His red face, but there's nothing red else in this scene. This is pink. This is, or maybe that's like a reflection. Obviously, more adrenochrome, pink. Definitely. If you haven't watched Enter the Stars, you won't know what I'm talking about, or you should. Adrenochrome, color, all-seeing eye, open mouth. Like it's all in this show. It's all layered on top of each other. And there's just, that's just a still from that section. But apparently the Wishies were helping out JFK, and that's how, maybe why he got murked, and has something to do with all of this. But right, these guys have been helping for a long time, all throughout history. I'm talking about a TV show. It's not real. Vesica Pisces. I mean, it's like you see it, but you don't. They're just earrings, but it is the Vesica Pisces. This girl, yeah, she's kind of freaking out in this show. I don't know where they're headed actually with her arc. She's a little off the rails. Pregnant. And these things go by so quick. I like to take these little slivers because you can really see so much if you only look at it for a second, right? Vesica Pisces, you see the hexagons on his back. Oh, well, turtles have hexagonal structure, right? That's a normal thing. Well, why did he go as I thought he was like an armadillo. Maybe armadillos, do they have hexagons too? At any rate, there's hexagons. There's drinking. Black and white. He's wearing the black. She's wearing the white. It's right, and those are hexagons too. It's all. The more you look at stuff, the more you see. You got a hexagon wine rack? Do you have a hexagon wine rack? I don't have a wine rack. Definitely don't have a wine rack. But if I did, I don't think it'd be made out of hexagons. Drinking is obviously a big part of this show.
Does this mean we're on the wagon?
And if you have any sort of issue with alcohol, this is gonna just trigger the shit out of you, right? He's been semi-sober for a second here in this show, and now he's drinking like a fish. And notice how just all of this revolves around childhood. Last season was Christmas, and now it's Easter. It's rough out there, guys. Take it easy.